And I said, you know what? I'm going to quit this job and pursue trading full time. I'd only been trading for about 6 months. I found options, unfortunately, through Wall Street Bets on Reddit. The amount of people that don't do any review or any journaling or anything. And I'm like, yeah, no wonder why you've been trading for 7 years and haven't had any success. We actually learn where like our really good setups are and how to get better at them through reinforcing the positive stuff. Once you go on tilt and you start going down that rabbit hole of spiral, it's almost virtually impossible to get out of that headspace and stop yourself. Have one account or one set of accounts that you are super rigid and strict with, because that's going to build your skill. I made 20 grand overnight. That was like one of my students took a $2.4 million payout. I
saw that.
Apex.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But it's like the pain and like of losses and stuff, that never goes away. That never does.
Tanner, appreciate you joining me, man. I'm really excited to get to know you. I've been following some of your stuff on Twitter and Instagram. It seems like you've had a hell of a run here over the last week or month. Would love to have you introduce yourself and just kick us off with a little background on how you first got into trading.
Yeah, what's up, everyone? My name is Tanner Owings. Some of you know me as the Strong Trader on Instagram. And I've been trading now. I just hit 6 years. Actually, October 21st. Was 6 years that I've been trading full time. Quit my corporate job in 2019, I guess 2 weeks before the 21st. And I remember October 21st was my first day full time. I was all excited. Here we go. I'm a full time day trader. And then I was red my first day. And I was like, okay, this is going to be tough. But yeah, I've been trading 6 years now. Primarily trade futures and options. Started off with options early on in my career. Was day trading them mainly, just naked calls and puts, directional based. And then eventually migrated over to futures, and then now swing trade options on the side. But like my day-to-day of day trading that I do is primarily futures.
Got it. I feel like so many of us have navigated that way. It's definitely an interesting domain to trade for sure. I'm curious though, kind of circling back to the beginning era there, when you said you went full-time trading, what did that journey really look like? Like how long did you give yourself? Did you have some rules before you made the decision to go full-time? Because I know it's a big leap to go full-time as a trader and actually quit a job, especially a corporate job. It sounds like you're probably doing really well there, and you gave that up in order to just do trading.
Yeah, so my story was very unconventional. I was 26 years old. I lived in a house by the beach with 4 of my buddies. I had I think maybe a girlfriend at the time, and no kids, no responsibilities. I had a corporate job. I had no debt or anything, and I saved up $50,000 from working for my corporate job. And I said, you know what? I'm going to quit this job and pursue trading full time and go for it. I'd only been trading for about 6 months. So it was very not smart, I would say, unconventional, but I guess I had some balls to do it back then and just, I guess, half of a brain to attempt it. Obviously, I'm grateful because I ended up working out. But the big thing is I always was entrepreneurial. I always wanted to do my own thing. So when I was working corporate initially, I kind of was doing a bunch of stuff on the side, always trying to figure that out. And this is something really big, I think, for a lot of people. It depends where you are in life, but specifically if you're in your 20s, it's like that is just a time of discovery. So like I was trying so many things, and I owned a gym for a little bit. I tried to start an app with these guys that were developing this app for like this wellness company thing. I tried drop shipping, and like just it was fail, or I didn't have enough interest in it. And then finally I found trading, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And I've talked about this a little bit before in like other podcasts and stuff like that, but I found trading through the Bitcoin boom. So like the initial run to 10K when it was like the hot thing, crazy. And that's when I put like $1,000 into that time, and literally, basically double my money in like a very short amount of time. And I was like, oh, this is the best thing in the world. This is it. And then from there, it eventually stemmed into I found options. I always get trolled about this because I found options, unfortunately, through Wall Street Bets on Reddit. So it was like the worst.
That's the worst place to learn options.
It was the worst place to learn options. But I'll never forget, I bought my first Netflix call on the way to work one day. and I made $330 by the time I got to work. And like literally at the time for my job, that was basically what I made, or less than
A whole
that,
day.
more than what I made an entire day. And I
Yeah.
was like, wait a second, there's something to this. So that's
Yeah.
what got me hooked.
So did you contribute at all to the lost porn arena there over on Wall Street Bets? Because honestly, I think that's more entertaining than how much gains are being made in a day.
For sure. I never actually posted on there. I was
Okay.
always just a lurker. I'm just like, damn, these people that post on here are crazy.
That's awesome. So where do you feel like you had, once you decided to go full time, you left the job, you took a loss on that first day. What did it look like to iron out a system after that? Did you find a method for consistency?
Yeah, so it took me about 2 years to kind of like just understand it, I'd say. I lost pretty much all that $50,000 in the 2 years.
Oh, man.
The smart thing that I did, and so this is kind of like the interesting part of my story, is I worked in the restaurant industry like a long time growing up. So like my first job was at a restaurant, and so I like very early on I learned like how to work and like customer service and being around people. So even when I had my corporate job out of college, I always kind of worked 1 day a week at the restaurant just because to have it. It was like a family thing where I was like, not my family, but like, it felt like family because I just been there for so long. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll still bartend on maybe a Saturday night, or like someone wants a shift covered, like I'll cover it for them, whatever. So the smart thing I did do in order to be able to like, I guess, survive the early part of learning to trade was when I quit my corporate job, I did go backwards and I went to bartending at night, pretty much back to full-time bartending. So, that's kind of the trade-off there where it's like, it's kind of confusing because everyone's like, oh, I thought you were a full-time trader. And it's like, yeah, I was like, finally had the opportunity to do that schedule because I wasn't working a corporate job. So it's like, a 9 to 5, it's like really hard to like do the trader schedule like that. But at the restaurant, I work like 4 to 9 at night. So it's like, and I'm on the West Coast. So for me, it's like, I just got to be up early, doing my thing, rocking it. And so I could do that full-time schedule of like, be up, prep for the open, trade, do the review, learn, research, and kind of rinse and repeat. And then I could still work at night. So I could still like pay my bills at least and keep my head above water.
And honestly, if you were trading, it sounds like you were trading options around this time as well. The market was closed, and you still had a few hours before you even started your shift, right? Because you were in California.
For sure,
yeah.
And that's something really, really important that, like, this is something with like my brand, like of strong trading and everything like that. We'll get into that in a bit, but like, I'm huge on process and like taking the time to do your journal, your review, all that type of stuff. I got really lucky early on to learn that stuff from like the get-go. Like I didn't get into trading where I just kind of started throwing stuff at the wall. Like everyone I learned from was like, do review, do your journaling, build playbooks. Like I used to tell everyone, I went to bed every single night for the first 2 years of my trading career watching SMB Capital videos on YouTube.
Oh, same.
Where like I literally every night I'm like, okay, time to watch like a playbook breakdown or like this or that. So essentially I got really good, free education in the YouTube space early on, but that's just what was drilled in me and ingrained in me of like, do your damn review, do the work. And so, it's crazy now, especially having a coaching business now and mentoring traders, the amount of people that don't do any review or any journaling or anything. And I'm like, yeah, no wonder why you've been trading for 7 years and haven't had any success. Like you don't really do the work. You just show up and throw something on the wall and expect it to stick. Yeah.
Have you gone back to those journals from those early days? And would you find any like key moments in there that you feel like were big discoveries?
You know what? It's really interesting you say that because I have my original journals, because before I kind of switched to where I do it now, where it's pretty much all online through like TradeZella or Notion or whatever. I literally had tangible hard copies of journals, and I would create like a fresh one every year. And a lot of that was kind of just like brain dumping. And this is where like I really started to refine like my journal process. Yeah. And this is actually something like that we focus on and teach in strong trading, is like the structure of journaling. Because what I noticed in the beginning, because when I do look back at some of them now, it's like a lot of my journal entries was actually just me shitting on myself the whole time.
Oh, yeah,
being like,
not good.
You're not good. Like, you got to get better at this. You sucked at this today. You were bad at this today. So like, as I kind of went through time and started to refine my process of like structured of journaling, I'm like, all right, well, where's the actual trade review breakdown, individual trades, right? Yeah. Okay. And then maybe for the psychological components, like, what am I tangibly trying to learn for tomorrow? What am I tangibly trying to take away from today? And so that's even like one of my favorite sections now in my journal that I definitely have changed since way back then is I like to have like, what's the good or the takeaway from the day? Because this is something a lot of traders don't do when they do journal and review is, again, they're just negative, negative, negative. You got to get better at this, better at that. But it's like, we actually learn where like our really good setups are and how to get better at them through reinforcing the positive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, I started really like, that was kind of a big like epiphany moment for me when it came to review, where I was like, dude, give yourself a pat on the back every once in a while. Like, that was a killer trade. That was a good setup. And then really starting to think, and like, luckily now I've kind of befriended some of the big dogs in the industry, like the Lance Brightsteins and those type of people. Like, they're like, yeah, when you have a really good setup now, like that's when you got to go swing the bat, like take the trade, put some size on it. And I didn't understand that at first. And I think it's a hard concept when you're in the beginning, but as you get deeper in, you start to see it and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, it is the same exact setup. But now I can put way more size towards it because I understand it. I did that good last time. Let me do it again this time and do it well and even better.
Maybe this will resonate with you. I think one of the things that I took away from my journaling was this idea of reviewing whether or not I managed the loss well. So, I think people are constantly looking for their journaling to show them the sweet spot of the only trades to take, but they're not really accounting for the fact that losses are inevitable. You're still going to take probably 3 losses for every 10 trades you take, right? Mm-hmm. So if that's the case, the question is, are you managing those losses well? And one of the discoveries for me is, how many rules did I break in that process of managing the loss? Did I manage the loss well? Did I exit exactly where I said I was going to exit? If so, then that's a success in my mind. I did well by getting out of that trade.
Exactly. And I think the loss thing is, it's good that you bring this up, because this is something in trading where a lot of people think like they screwed up or they're a bad trader if they took a loss.
Yeah,
right. Like, dude, no, it's eventually, especially deeper in it, you understand the law of large numbers and probability-based losses. This is something that I have another coach that works for me. His name is Lawrence. Shout out Lawrence, the investor. Lawrence is really good and kind of helped drilled even in my head. He's like, that was a probability-based loss. He's like, you literally did everything you could with your system. You traded it how you're supposed to. But guess what? The market just said, nah, it ain't going to work today, or it's not going to fully pan out today. And so accepting that is definitely part of the skill that I think requires a lot of time. Mm-hmm. And this always comes down to one of two things as well. I ask traders all the time. I'm like, do you want to have a high hit rate and a lower R multiple, or do you want to have a lower hit rate and a high R multiple? Mm-hmm. If you choose the latter, can you stomach taking a bunch of losses
exactly
and still execute your system?
Right.
So for me with futures, actually, when I trade futures, this is kind of how I learned like how I have edge in futures and my style of futures is I'm a very asymmetrical risk reward guy in the terms of like, I go for high R multiples. My win rate is literally 40%, sometimes 35.
50. Yeah.
But my R multiple will be like a minimum of 2.5 to 3. Mm-hmm. So it's like I'm making up for it on the back end. And sometimes I have some like today I had a 5R trade. I risked $200 to make 1,000, right? Nice. And it's like, it's nothing like insane, but sometimes I try those trades and it might take me 2 tries or 3 tries to get that. But I understand, I'm like, okay, small loss. All right.
Small loss.
I'm a little early or something, or like whatever. Okay. Small loss again. Okay. Where's my max loss in the day? Because it can get messy where you take so many haircuts before you're like, oh shit, I'm, it's a full on my girlfriend's hair appointment bill. It's like, it's different. So yeah, for sure. Losses are a part of the game. And I think, going through your journal and seeing like, did you do what you're supposed to do is a huge part of the process.
Yeah. I've often thought to myself that when it comes to trading, it's probably one of the best ways to learn the most about yourself. And, in the process of psychology and just understanding why you get into trades, why you get out of trades, how you respond to risk, how you respond to loss, so on and so forth. You mentioned your early journal entries were really just you shitting on yourself, which is, an unfortunate byproduct of what we're doing here. But from a self-awareness perspective, what would you say you learned most along this journey so far about yourself?
Oh, gosh, man. Trading has taught me so much. Trading has taught me so much about myself, my emotions, my reactions, like everything. What I get frustrated about. I think the biggest thing it has taught me though is to like control what you can control, and what you can't control, it is what it is. Like, I will never blame the market anymore in my career. Like, it's when it happens, I go, damn, that sucks. But it's not the market's fault. It's like, it just happened, And I'm like, okay, well, how could I have, avoided that type of loss or avoided this? So And it's okay. Here's actually a good story on this. I do a lot of traveling with my friends. You know, I grew up going to like Vegas with my friends, kind of partying a lot and stuff like that. And I remember we were on like a Vegas trip a few years back, and we all got to the airport. You know, we're hungover as shit. It's like a Sunday or whatever, and we're looking to obviously leave, and our flight ends up getting canceled. And like everyone's tripping out. Oh my gosh, this and that. And I am just like, all right, is what it is type deal. And everyone's like, Tanner, I don't get it. Normally you're the one like freaking out about this stuff. How are you the calmest and like just not like giving any reaction? And I'm like, dude, this is just something out of our control. And like trading, I think, has literally kind of molded that into my mind. Like, this is something completely out of my control. Let's actually take the most recent example of the AWS outage on Monday.
Right. Oh, man,
right?
Monday.
The amount of people freaking out about this, freaking out about that. And especially people like trying to blame Project X and stuff. Like, oh, I'm switching from Project X. That shouldn't happen, this and that. Rewind. I don't know if people remember or even around in trading during the COVID era, but like, Thinkorswim and a bunch of those brokers like literally would like be down for a couple days on end sometimes.
Yeah,
they'd have fill issues. Like, brokers have shit that happens. It's technology.
Yeah.
It's not inevitable for like one day randomly shit blows up. And so again, control what you can control, react to like what makes sense, or, you know, try not to react. So on Monday when that was happening, me and Lawrence were just live streaming and we're just like, okay, nothing we can do. And both of us were like, nice, we get a day off from trading. Like
close up shop. Yeah, exactly.
But you know, like that's one of the biggest things I've learned is just like control what you can control, and what you can't, it's like don't waste energy on it, bro. It's like it's really just not worth it. And so the more I've been able to do that, like I would say that's probably a huge lesson I've learned from trading.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I'm glad you dug into that. I feel like it's sort of a stoic way of looking at things as well, where ultimately you're just focusing on the things within your circle of influence or your control, right? So what is under our control when we're trading from day to day?
Our risk, in the sense of our risk parameters. So honestly, one of the reasons I'm actually a huge fan of Project X and using Project X specifically for like all my prop firm trading is the ability to control the risk and do the daily loss limit, right? Like those are things that are in our control, because the amount of traders that just go on tilt and blow accounts, like I've done it plenty of times. Everyone has done it. And it's probably the biggest thing separating like, you know, the people that take consistent payouts versus the ones that don't. And you hear it all the time of like, oh my gosh, like I was this close. And then like I went on a day and blew my account. And it's like, well, what's the solution to that? And me and Lawrence talk about this a lot too, is like, know yourself. And when I say that, I mean, I'll use myself as an example. I'm an extreme person. I'm very like out there, like I'm a competitive power lifter. Like I'm into like lifting heavy weights. I'm very energetic and outgoing. I'm extreme. So when it comes to trading, I also can be a degenerate and a dumbass sometimes. And I know I am prone to tilt and doing something stupid. So I'm like, what's in my control if that does happen? You know, I know myself. Well, what's in my control is setting some sort of guardrail or barrier to prevent the spiral downward. And setting a daily loss limit on the broker, like in Project X, and locking out the risk settings so you can't change it or do anything before the session starts when you're in like your logical state of mind. That is something in my control to prevent it. Because once you go on tilt and you start going down that rabbit hole of spiral, it's almost virtually impossible to get out of that headspace and stop yourself, especially if you're prone to it. So that's something where I'm just like, okay, I know I'm a dumbass and a degen sometimes. Let me set this. If it hits and happens, of course I'm going to sit here and go, fuck, I'm pissed. Damn it. Like, you know, but I will do that for 15, 20 minutes. I will be locked out. My risk will be done on the day. I will only have lost, let's say, $1,000 versus blowing the account and losing $4 or $5 grand or whatever it is. And you know what's going to happen is later on when I get back into logic mode, I'm going to go, damn, I'm pretty stoked I only lost $1,000 instead of blowing the account.
That's right.
And like that happens.
You have to get back into that state to reflect on it and go, actually, I'm glad that happened.
Exactly.
Yep. I totally agree there. So if we can move forward back to sort of the present here, how would you describe your trading style as of today? What does a typical trading day look like for you? What are the rules that you trade by today?
Yeah, so typical trading day is intraday trading futures, like I said. I'm pretty rigid with rules, but then sometimes I'm not. Like this is the discretionary hard part about being a discretionary price action based trader is like, you know, I can make those like, I might be able to bend this here. For the most part, usually it hurts you to bend it. It's like, it depends if it's like a hard rule or a soft rule. And when I say hard rules and soft rules, I mean like hard rules are like risk-based rules, right? It's like, I only want to risk this much, or I'm only allowing myself to, you know, put up this amount of risk towards this. This is my max daily loss in the day, whatever it is. A soft rule is time, for an example. Like, I really am an advocate of waiting at least 20 to 30 minutes after New York Open to like take my first trade, because data-wise, everything-wise, myself as a DGen-wise, tells me that like when the open happens, I'm actually very conditioned from trading options to catch like opening drives of like the rip. And so with futures, you know, not always that's going to really help you. It's actually going to hurt you more often than not. So soft rule, I would say on that I break sometimes is like, maybe the setup is just so strong at the open, or I see it so clearly from, you know, my discretion in practice, that I'm like, all right, I'm going to break the time rule today and take it, you know, within the first 5 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
Most of the time that doesn't benefit me. So I'm still trying to do my best to be discretionary about it. But other than that, like, you know, I'm pretty good in that sense. And it's like, yeah, typical trading days wise, like I said, at least 20 to 30 minutes. Ideally, take my trade. I am a one and done type dude, you know, 2, maybe 3 max nowadays. Overtrading used to be like my kryptonite, bro. Like I used to be a madman. I remember, oh my gosh, when I first started futures, like getting into it, having the day where I just ripped like 50 scalps trying to like get back and forth and stuff like that. And then I remember literally that day, like I think I probably blew the calendar that day or something. I laid down in my room at the time in the middle of the floor, and I just like stared up in the ceiling, and I was just like, I was just brain dead. And I was like, this feeling sucks.
That wiped you out.
This is exhausting. And so I'm really big on like less is more, because also I think a big thing that traders don't think about or realize is we utilize a lot of brain energy and like decision making when it comes to executing that many times on a given day. We are human. We run off energy systems. We all use glucose and like, you know, ATP and all that stuff. Like all the biology nerds out there know what I'm talking about.
I love it. We're bringing in the powerlifting stuff.
Yeah, bringing in the powerlifting side of me, yeah, for sure. So it's like, so actually, this is actually how I really started thinking about this. I talked to my powerlifting coach about this actually pretty in depth. He's like, all right. He used to ask me if I went into the gym, like I had a shitty lift for whatever reason. He's like, all right, well, how was your morning? And I was like, oh, I traded really bad this morning. Took way too many trades. He's like, okay. He's like, what'd you eat? And I'm like, oh, I kind of ate like the same thing, like nothing really different, you know, maybe a little dehydrated. And he's like, all right. And so we kind of like went through many days of data like that. And he's like, dude, it's really clear that like you are utilizing so much glucose and energy power, making all those decisions from doing too much on the screens, that now it is carrying over to your performance when you're training. So like when I would go train in the gym, powerlifting requires a lot of demand on your central nervous system, you know, like just total focus and control. And
especially around ATP recovery.
Yes. And energy expenditure and like in general. So I started to really think about that too. So like when I would get closer to a competition and stuff like that, I'd be like, all right, Tanner, like your goal today is to take 1 to 2 trades because you need to save your brain power and energy for your training sessions. And so that's kind of when that started clicking. And then like from there, kind of just started practicing it more, and then noticed I was like, dude, I have such better just days in general when I take one trade and go fuck off and just get away from the charts like as fast as I can, because I just feel better. I have more energy to do other stuff. I'm a trader, but I'm also an entrepreneur. Like I love building, you know, my trading business, the coaching business. Like, you know, I'm big on Instagram. I like doing marketing. Like I like making content. I like making reels. And if I'm really drained from just trading itself, I don't have the energy to do all the other things I love to do in life. And so that's kind of like that was the big like epiphany moment for me.
That's awesome. One question around that, because you're really looking for 1 to 2 great trades, that means you're probably shooting for at least 100 points or more in a given session. How do you deal with chop? Good question.
Sometimes I get stuck in it and I go, I hate this. It sucks. But like, you know, that's the hard part is we can have, Lawrence has actually helped me with this even a lot too, is like, he always says, he's like, everything between your stop loss and your TP is noise.
Just
like,
noise.
Everything is noise. You can't control it. Yes, the discretionary part of me, you know, maybe let's use 100 points as an example. Maybe I'm up 80 points. I'm getting really close. I'm like, all right, Tanner, do you really want to let this go back to break even, bro? Or like, you know, go red. I'm like, and especially if I've been in it for a while, I'm like, fuck it, I'm taking it. Like I'm taking it, I'm running away. So chop and stuff like that, it's just inevitable. It's like none of us can predict chop.
That's
yeah,
right.
there can be zones. And I guess have like, higher volume that like takes some time to digest, I guess you could say. But like for me, that's why it's like I'm really big on levels. I am a levels trader. So like I'm going off bigger picture levels, meaning I'm looking at daily levels, I'm looking at 4-hour levels, and I'm waiting for like the intraday smaller timeframes to align with those, and then looking for some sort of reaction after one sided move or the other. So like my style is really aggressive too, where like I'm catching reversals and stuff all the time. Today, I shorted today. And today was like straight up pretty much.
Yeah.
I waited for the entire opening drive, the first 30 minutes to play out. We literally ripped from, I think, like 950s on NQ all the way up into 180s. So like a solid 200 points pretty much, let's call it. 180 was my level. I shorted at 180, back down to 100, caught 60 points. I realized it was counter trend. We were pulling back into VWAP. I was like, you know what? I think this is all I'm going to get out of this.
Yeah.
That's where the discretionary nature comes in. I was up $1,000. I only risked $200. I was like, I'm going to take it. I took it. I cut it. And then I was grateful I did, because my discretionary intuition there actually did really help, where, I was like, we ended up reversing fully, and I would have been like, damn it, I should have, could have, would have. So yeah.
So I took almost the exact same trade today.
I love that. It's amazing.
I think we both probably saw the weekly VWAP as resistance. That's what I was looking for after the main drive, and then sold it all the way back to VWAP again, session VWAP.
Beautiful.
Beautiful trade today for sure. Going back to, you mentioned earlier, like once you've taken that one or two great trades, you got other things you're working on. Help us understand what else you're doing. What are the other the projects you're involved in? Yeah.
So, I mean, I own a company called Strong Trading. Strong Trading is my brand. Strong Trading started because I'm a competitive power lifter. And basically I was just taking a bunch of concepts I learned from powerlifting and brought it over to trading. And those concepts really are the process. Like that's what I like to say. In powerlifting, even though we're shooting to like, I guess let me rewind a little bit. For anyone that doesn't know that's listening, like what powerlifting specifically is, people always get confused on this.
Yeah.
It is the sport of squat, bench, and deadlift. You are training to put up your best 1 rep max between the 3, and you create a total out of all 3. There's weight classes, all that type of stuff. So when I compete, I'm literally just doing one lift, like one heavy lift. I get 3 attempts at it though, and then squat, bench, deadlift. So, I'm only doing 9 total lifts, I guess you could say, on the day. But the training itself, I do not go in the gym and max out one lift every session. It's like I follow
work your way up.
Yeah, I follow structure. I have what's called like blocks of training. And sometimes a block is like, okay, your squat workout today is 3 sets of 6, at 82% or something like that. I don't care if I feel like wanting to do this or feel like wanting to do that. I have structure and a plan, and I follow it because I have a big macro goal. So process-wise, I'm like, how do I bring that over to trading? I'm like, all right, well, what is my day-to-day process that I've kind of built over the years, right? Understanding the time thing that works for me, understanding when I do a review, what I'm looking for, understanding how to break down my review, all that type of stuff. So that's where Strong Trading came in, and like the whole idea. And then I realized, I was like, okay, I'm pretty good at this review stuff. I was like, what if I start kind of like coaching and teaching some of this stuff? So this was a few years ago, right after I became profitable. Some people would ask me, oh, can you teach me this, teach me that? And I'm like, I told everyone, like, because what I don't like, I guess, in like the trading education space is you see a lot of people like, here's my Lambo, buy my course, I'll teach you my golden strategy, it'll make you $1 billion.
Right.
For me, I'm like, it's fucking stupid. Like, I get that marketing sells, because now I'm in marketing too. Like, I understand it, but like, it's not authentic, and I don't like that. So for me, I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to provide value and actually help someone learn, I was like, what I'm going to do? I'm like, I'm not going to sell any proprietary trading indicator or strategy or anything like that. I was like, I can teach people how to journal and how to review and kind of do the stuff I was doing, the process, how to build their process. People don't know how to build, pre-market game plans. They don't have structure in their pre-market, whatever they do, or structure in their journaling. I realized, I was like, okay, I know this pretty well from, having good mentors and people in my life that have taught me. I was like, why don't I start coaching this? So I started doing that. And again, that's when I figured out the marketplace, where I'm like, wow, so many traders don't do any review or even know how to structure the review and stuff like that. So I kind of started doing that. And that's what's really cool about Strong Trading and like where it is today now. Like, we have the coaching business, and the coaching that we teach is like, again, like how you individually as a trader can create your own self-sustained trading as a business, right? Because people come to me with all different strategies. And so it's like, they're like, I'm never like, okay, let me teach you about ICT. Let me teach you about levels. Let me teach you about supply and demand. I'm like, take whatever strategy that you like, that is working for you, that makes sense. Let's try to refine it a little bit, because I am good at technical, so I can help you on that aspect. If I don't understand certain concepts of ICT or whatever it is, or whatever, I will be honest about it. But the main thing is, how do we fledge out your process for understanding this more, right? How do you have structure behind your journaling? Do you know how to review? Are you putting in the reps of reviewing, right? Because a lot of this is just rep work of doing it over and over. And the rep work isn't pressing the button necessarily all damn day, taking the trade. It is the review, understanding what you're looking for, understanding how to structure risk, all that type of stuff.
Right.
So that's the main thing I would say I have, is my coaching business. I have two other coaches that work for me, Lawrence and Brian. And we're just kind of building this community of traders that, are all focused on process of getting better. And like, that's the cool part, is everyone trades a little bit differently, but like picks up some stuff from other people, and it's very supportive. So that's the main venture. Outside of that, I also do, social media. I do some affiliate marketing in the prop space. Obviously, there's good opportunity for that. I'm not a prop whore, I would say, though. I don't promote 17 prop firms.
Right.
And say, use my code here, here, and here. I actually really only promote one. And it's just one that I like. It's Top One Futures. They're my favorite so far. Good people, a good product. I love the instant funding space. I think it's a super cool opportunity for traders.
For sure. Yeah.
Because the amount of money I've just blown on evals, being like, okay, this eval part is stupid. Like, I know how to be profitable. I know how to trade. Why do I need to
Not to mention, you've just pretty much, in many cases, doubled the profit target that you have to get to by having to go through the eval stage and then the funded stage again.
Exactly. And so that's why I am a fan of instant funding, but I'm also honest with people too. I'm like, some people ask me, okay, like I want to get funded for the first time. I've never taken a challenge before. Like, should I just go straight to instant funding? And I tell them, no. Yeah. Do the challenge, like understand what you're doing with that.
Keep your costs low when you're learning.
Exactly. So affiliate marketing, like I said, I love making content. I actually really enjoy it. Like I don't know, I guess I'm kind of natural on camera, and I guess actually not natural. I've been doing this and practicing, and like, I remember in college, like doing Snapchat and stuff all the time, like way back in the day. So it's like, it's something I enjoy. I was always posting like my lifts on social media and stuff.
So you're natural then. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah, I guess like that type of stuff. Natural in the sense of I practiced for so long, so now I'm a natural at it.
Right.
So yeah, affiliate marketing is like my other big thing that I kind of work on day to day. And then obviously just my own trading, just trying to get better and better.
So talk to us about the transition into prop firm trading. What was that like? How long did it take you before you were finally getting to funded status and obviously getting payouts? And then can you share how your performance has been for 2025?
Looking for a prop firm that actually plays nice with automation? Meet Blue Sky, built for serious traders. And with Traders Post, it just clicks. You connect Blue Sky inside Traders Post. Route your TradingView signals to paper or funded accounts, and let it auto-manage entries, stops, and targets. You control risk per trade, filter by session and symbol, and pause or resume with a single switch. Every fill is easy to review in one dashboard. Funded accounts can request payouts daily with launch plans starting at $49. Get funded with Blue Sky. Execute with Traders Post. Apply today at bluesky.pro, BLUSKY.pro, and plug in your edge. Trading involves risk. Use proper risk management.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it's really interesting because 3 years in, I finally got profitable from options. But it was like, I always saw everyone too, like everyone hears that buzz term, oh, I'm finally profitable. But it's like, what does that mean? I'm like, theoretically, you could be making $1,000 a month and be profitable. Does it mean you're going to live? Like, probably not. It's really hard. Right. So when I was profitable, I was making about $3,000 to $4,000 a month. Which, like, I live in Southern California in Orange County. It's like
gone in a week.
You're literally you're screwed on that type of money, basically. Mm-hmm. Luckily, again, at that time, I was still living with buddies, like, in a house by the beach. My rent was like $800. It was pretty cheap. So it was like I could afford it and I could do it based on the lifestyle, like in the cards that I was dealt at that time. And then I remember, like, just every morning I'm looking for like day trading option setups, and like I'm trying to just like scalp. And then eventually I kind of started doing a lot of QQQ and SPY. And I'd trade like 1 data expiration or even 0 DTE. And there was so many times where I'd be right, but like the Theta would just eat me up. And I'm like, dude, I'm really right on this position, but now it's chopped around. I've been sideways in it for 2 hours. I'm back to where my profit target originally was, but it's like I'm up 2% on this position. Like, it doesn't make sense. And so that's when one of my mentors at the time, he started doing futures. And I didn't know what it was really. I've heard of it. I hadn't really dabbled in it. And I was like, all right, well, like, let's learn about it. And like, I remember actually the night I went to like go and learn about it, because it felt like the early days where it's like, you go into the lab, you go into like the cave, and you're like, all right, I'm going to pull like up until 2 a.m., just like deep in the YouTube hole, just learning. And side tangent on this, I think everyone in their first like 6 months to a year needs to be doing that and not even really seek that much like mentorship. I think like your first 6 months need to be dedicated to you just like heads down deep in like some sort of YouTube education free. Like there's so much free stuff on the basics out there. I really don't think you need to like buy a course or this or that or have a mentor in those stages. Yeah, it probably could help and accelerate you if someone is willing to do that. But like, I think there's something unique and special. It's like you have to go through that. You got to go through that, again, the cave period where it's like, it's all dark. It's like the classic, like, you're just in like the depths of it. So for me, it was kind of cool because I was like, okay, cool. Now I'm like, I remember like, all right, here we go, back into the lab. Like, I'm going to go learn a bunch about futures.
How did you sift between like the nonsense out there and what was legitimate? I know for me, like I just tried to find who the pros were, the real pros. Like SMB Capital was a great resource, but I also went through the CMT program to learn how professional traders learn in technical analysis. But it was tough to find like what's a good resource. How did you figure that out for yourself?
For sure. So I think for me at that time, it wasn't really about strategy as much because I was trading a lot of like kind of strategy already on QQQ and like I was a levels trader back then, like not as good as I am now. I started to get introduced to more like VWAP trading a little bit back then, but like very subtle, not as good as I am now with it. So for me, like kind of going back into that period of learning, it was mainly just learning about the product, meaning like what are futures, what are the contracts, how do they work, how do they move, what's the dollar amount for MNQ versus NQ, ES versus that, the different markets. So it wasn't really about like finding quality of like someone to learn from. Luckily too, my mentor was like always kind of guiding me on this stuff. He owns, it used to be called Alphenicus Trades. Now it's called Power Trading Group, but he's always been like a very high hit rate type of dude, but like really good with levels. And so for me, that's kind of how I've always learned is just like level reactions and stuff. But it wasn't until later I like learned about myself and how I like the higher R multiple, but I could still utilize the level system in order to capitalize on it, but with something that fits my personality more, that I got like really, really like, like doing well trading futures, I guess you could say. So yeah, it was kind of just this period where I remember it was crazy. It was almost kind of like going back to the beginning in a sense, but I have like, I have 3 years of knowledge at this point. So it wasn't the beginning. So it was much easier to pick up on, but like, God, I spent a whole year like barely, kind of barely making any money trading futures and really just like, keep my head above water, still trading options here and there. It's definitely still making money, but like so many down periods where, the classic story for everyone, they get funded for the first time. They think that's the golden realm. They did it. And then, you lose the account.
You lose the account.
Yeah. So,
or you get a payout and then lose the account.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So what does that look like now? How have things progressed for 2025?
Yeah. So for 2025, gosh, so this was like my breakout year for sure. So I just posted this whole like recap thing basically. Last year was my first 6-figure year ever. Working for myself. And also like when I say that, it's like I think like about 80K of that was trading. And then the rest was like, my coaching business and stuff like that. Yeah. This year has been insane because it's like my breakout year. Like, as we do this pod right now, I've done about over $400,000 and half of that at least is from trading profits. And the other half is all from like business stuff. So payout wise, I'm over $100,000 in payouts for the year. I've had some crazy option plays lately that have put me pretty close to another $100,000. Like especially after yesterday, I'd have to add it back up and stuff. But the payouts have just been really consistent. Where it's been consistent like 5-figure payouts every single month. And that's kind of just the staple now of like what I'm used to. And I do trade multiple props. So it's like for sure leverage wise, that's the easiest way for me to do that. And if anyone out there is trading multiple props, there's 2 ways to go about it, I think. Number one is like some sort of like automated, like something on the back end, like syncing them all together. I'm pretty sure you guys with Traders Post like do stuff like
what
that.
We do here at Traders Post.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's one way to go about it, is like link all of them up. So you trade one master account and kind of have all of them follow. sometimes the pressure on that can be too much on you mentally, where you're like, oh shit, I had a day where I just screwed up this many accounts.
It sucks to lose them all at the same time. Not gonna lie.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Yeah.
So for me, I tried that for a little bit. It was just kind of tough to navigate it because, I started to put that pressure on myself in doing it. And so kind of what I've been doing that's been helping me a bit more is like I have one main account or like set of accounts from, Top One Futures. And I trade that like super strict, rigid, meaning my rules, my setups, my system, the time, New York Open, maybe live streaming pretty much every day. And doing that, even like with Top One Futures, I took like $30,000 in payouts, live streaming on YouTube, doing it in front of everyone for like 3 to 4 months,
Nice.
Went to live with them, like super cool, did it super rigid. But then on the side, Asia session, dabbling here and there. I'll send sometimes 5 minis, 6 minis, make like $1,000, close it out, still walk away. That's still that same idea though, like one and done, walk away.
Yeah.
But those ones, I understand the concept of those are side accounts and it's kind of money in versus money out. I'm not going to lie. So it's like, I'll be transparent about it. Like I've blown a shit ton of those accounts, so many, but payout wise, I've taken way more payouts to obviously make up for the amount of money I've spent on it and many, many more. So understanding that in my mind is like the best detachment, number one, and how I can leverage taking tons of payouts from multiple props.
Yep.
Because it's like it's not all tied to eggs in one basket in one session.
Yep.
So like I said, I'll do that, and like Asia session will come and I'll trade some Top Step, I'll trade some Lucid, I might trade some Take Profit Trader, like whatever it is. And just really like all the payouts are so staggered now. Or that's what's kind of cool too. I never get like this massive one day where it's like an Apex, here's your $50,000 payout. It's like yesterday I took out $6,000 from Lucid and I took out $5,000 from Top Step. So I'm like, cool. It just happened to be one of those days. Day before I had another account with Top Step that was eligible. I took out $3,500. Day before that, one of my other Lucid accounts is eligible. I took out $3,000. And so it's like, they're all kind of staggered, whatever. And that's what's like really been good for me flow wise. Cause I'm just still thinking about just trading, but it's not like, oh my God, if I do this right here, I'm going to take a $25,000 payout. It's more just like, no, trade. That account's eligible. Cool. Take the money, run with it. This
but
one's
then
eligible.
I guess to your point, that also reduces the likelihood that you're going to blow all the accounts out at the same time.
Exactly. And the mental stress of that is what like sends you in the spiral, the loop. You do exactly.
For sure.
So that's why I like having multiple different props, different times I trade some of those. But again, like the main thing I want to convey with that message is like have one account or one set of accounts that you are super rigid and strict with, because that's going to build your skill more than anything. I'm not going to lie. Some of my Asia trades and stuff, they're not that good. Like it's like, I'm good at discretionary price action so I can read it and I can scalp quick here and there, but it's not like I'm like, oh, this is an A+ setup. This is crazy. Sometimes too, I'll swing the bat where I'm like, this happened to me 2 weeks, like last week, actually, I had an insane week. I've never done this before. 2 times I swung overnight on Top Step, no consistency rule. And one night I woke up, or the next morning I woke up on one account and I was up $10,000. I swung 3 minis overnight on NQ, and I was like, "Holy shit! All right, I hit my target. I set a target overnight, hit it." 2 nights later,
did you have just a single stop, just waiting at the top?
I literally just risked the whole account, but like theoretically, based on like structure of like market structure and how I trade, I was like, all right, like I probably shouldn't. This probably shouldn't blow. Like it's like it might get close based on market structure, and if it does, I don't attach myself to it. I'm like, all right, Tanner, you're taking the risk, whatever. I'm like, because now, especially with the back to funded options with Top Step and stuff, I'm like, all right, you're risking $700 to potentially reset this and go back to funded to make $10,000. That's a pretty good risk reward in my opinion. It's not like I'm trying to do that every night. It's more like that week I did it more than usual, and I took those overnight swings, which I actually don't do too often, but I did that because it was the Trump volatility craziness, right? Like Asia session was going nuts. There was opportunity. I recognized there was opportunity. I went for it. So $10,000 on that one account. 2 nights later, I did the same thing. I set a super aggressive target of like 300 points in NQ with 3 contracts. And literally I woke up and I looked at my alerts and it went off and I fucking hit it. And I woke up and I made $20,000 overnight. I was like, oh my gosh, that's $30,000 in literally 3 days, swing trading overnight. I was like,
while you were sleeping.
I was like, this is crazy. And so, yeah, it's kind of just like, it's just all accumulating where it's like, yes, my skill has built a lot. And so I can do stuff like that. I can recognize the opportunity like that. Do I still get my ass handed to me here and there? Yes. Not as often as anymore. And again, just payout wise, I just know how to take the payouts when I get it. So now with Top Step, I hit those huge days on it. You think I'm trying to double the account again? No, bro. I'm hitting $150. I'm literally locking it out, going to the next day, and I'm using that shit as an ATM now. I'm just pulling the money out.
Sure. So $150 base hit, that's all you're really looking for in most of these accounts?
After I have like some big winner like that, yeah, I would say it just depends. Like, so with Lucid or any straight to funded deal, it's a 20% consistency rule. I'll actually shoot for $1,000 on each of the accounts.
Okay.
But again, I trade like with heavy minis on some of those where it's like I'm ripping 5 minis on NQ. You don't need that many points to do that.
No,
so it's
you'll
like
be done in 15, 20 points.
Sometimes on those accounts, I actually will trade the exact opposite of how I do in the sense of like risk reward. I'll have a negative risk reward. I'll risk 2,500 to make 1,000. And it's like kind of like, stupid to some people, but like, again, I just have enough experience now of like showing up every damn day, reviewing my trades, understanding price action to where statistically speaking, like I win more than I lose in the sense of like doing that to take payouts. It's like I get that game. And like that's something I feel like, again, like a lot of people don't understand and realize is the prop game is really unique because it's very different from like actual trading. So we're like the options account, it's like it's so different where it's like, okay, real money, real losses, real. But the prop account, like again, I blow one. It's like I don't really look at it as like, oh my god, I lost $4,500. I just blew the Top Step account. I'm like, no, you lost $300, bro.
That's right. The cost of the account,
whatever. So the asymmetrical risk reward in an advantageous way is there for us as traders trading props. And like people that are confused on that, like that's the reality of it. And when people always ask, why don't you just trade a real personal live account with futures? I'm like, because I do that with options. And like, that's how I like, capitalize on that part of the market. But why would I want to, like, I'm given this insane opportunity where I have this skill built up now and I can make this much money risking the smallest amount theoretically possible.
Yeah.
Why would I not just keep trying to do that as much as I can?
Well, I guess on one hand, it works for a couple of years, but it seems like firms are starting to navigate towards lifetime payout maximums. And eventually you'll reach a point where you kind of exhausted your options. But in a live account, you can continue to compound forever. There's nobody stopping you from making tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars in a futures account. That's
true. And I think for me though, like my bigger accounts, like again, that's just why I like options for like bigger picture stuff, like day to day. Eventually if that comes in the industry, in the space, like obviously you pivot, you adapt. I think that's something that's really good about like us as traders. We have to think like entrepreneurs also. You have to think of like, how do you pivot? How do you adapt to what's going on? And if you don't, you're going to get left behind in the dust. And that's just the reality of it. And it's the same idea when markets change too, like, right? Like when markets shift, you have to adapt and shift with the market. Otherwise, you're going to be the same guy trying to, buy the highs, but we've actually kind of shifted into like, a downward market. So for sure, it's like you got to be able to adapt. And, when that day comes, if it ever does, like I'll adapt. Just like I adapted to trading props right now, right? Yeah, and so it's like, it's just kind of how the journey's going.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got this coaching business. I'm very curious about what you've learned through that process. What's something that you think traders consistently get wrong that's obviously a big hurdle for them to get past, but once they do, it's a breakthrough moment for them?
Good question. Everyone has the same but different problems. That's what I've really learned.
That's a good way to say it. I like it.
Yeah, everyone has the same but different. Like some people, a bunch of us are not good at again, the tilt thing, controlling risk. I have some dudes that are madmen, just like over trading crazy. And I have other dudes that are so afraid to push the button and take the trade. And I'm like individualistically, what I've learned is everyone is same but different. And again, like how do we address those specific problems? So it's like, there's two parts of the coaching business now as well. I forgot to mention that. There's one-on-one coaching, which is very obviously intensive, individualistic, specifically catered to you. Then there's group coaching. The group coaching is more like general learning, broad group sessions. Obviously the ticket is way lower and it's like cheaper barrier to entry and stuff like that. But it's good for those people that either just want kind of the weekly accountability of like kind of being in that group setting, or if you want to do the one-on-one thing, obviously, like I said, it's more intensive and personalized. But what I've learned from other traders is like how like so many of us go through the same shit. but at the same time, like have, little tweaks that they need to make. And just because I'm good at something or they're good at something doesn't mean it's vice versa, right? And so some of my guys I envy, I'm like, dude, you're so good at waiting for confirmation. Like I would have gotten stopped out 3 times trying that quick. Like, it's like, and that's just me. But it's like, I've learned that, like, again, we're all individualistic in that sense. And when it comes to like the goal, like obviously the goal is for people to make money. And I think that's kind of one of the most like satisfying parts of coaching in general. And I can successfully say I've had 2 people quit their jobs to trade full time. And ironically, both of them are coaches for me now. And that was like before even they were coaches for me or anything. Like they just had a lot of success in the program. It was Lawrence. Lawrence had a lot of success in the program. I remember the day he hit me up. He's like, I'm doing it. I'm quitting my job. I was like, let's fucking go. I was super stoked for him. And then literally not till like, even a year later, he'd been crushing it. It took like, $100,000 in payouts or something like that. I was like, dude, would you be interested in coaching? Like my business is growing. And he's like, I'm down. And Lawrence is like a psychology junkie. He's like our psych guy. Lawrence is like so just level-headed in like epiphany moments. And like, he's like your big brother just giving you good advice all the time. It's like, it's like that's how he is. So super cool with Lawrence. So yeah, Lawrence quit his job and traded full-time. And then Brian, who's actually getting trained up to be a coach right now, Brian quit his job to trade full-time probably about 6 months ago. And he's been taking consistent payouts. He's been doing well. And he randomly brought up to me, he's like, hey, you know what? I kind of be interested in, doing some coaching. And Brian's been helping with the Discord and kind of helping grow the Discord and stuff like that, like moderating it. So I was like, you know what? Like, and Brian's the type of dude where every day, still to this day, no matter what, I can count on him to send me his trade review every day.
Nice.
Sends it to me. That dude, he's sending me markups. He's doing the work. And again, that's what I look for more than anything. And again, what we even try to preach and stuff is like, do the damn work. And the work isn't just coming in and pressing the buttons and leaving. It's like doing the trade review, doing the markups, doing the understanding of like, again, the back end process work, daily report cards, like all that type of stuff. That's the type of shit which keeps building you skill. So those 2 main success stories, and I guess the biggest one, monetarily speaking, is Manbeer. I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, but one of my students took a $2.4 million payout.
I saw that.
APEX.
Oh my God. Yeah. That one was crazy.
That one was crazy.
I feel like we all collectively cheered the moment that wire dropped.
Yeah, it was sick. It was super sick. So that was really, really cool. And honestly, everyone always asks me about Manbeer, like, and that's kind of the hard part about the industry is, money sells. I get it. So from the marketing point of view, that's the hard part. And I'm just like, and I try to tell everyone like, it's like, what did Manbeer do? Teach me Manbeer's strategy, this and that. And I'm like, dude, he mainly traded like opening range breaks. Like literally there was nothing that's like fancy about it.
Yeah.
He just learned how to get disciplined through like the process work, the daily report cards, the stuff that we did, checking in, all that type of stuff. He learned how to set daily loss limits. He wouldn't really do that before, those really basic things. But he got his ass handed to him so many times that finally through like the accountability and the mentoring and the coaching, it clicked. And he was able to swing the bat consistently. He'd do like $1,500, $2,000, nothing insane, but he did that over and over and over and over and over. Got to his 6th payout. And then like, I remember on the call, he's like, yes. He's like, so I'm like, I should be eligible. He's like, each account is at like, 80 something thousand or some shit. Or like 100 and something thousand. And I'm like, wait a second. And I'm like, you got 20 accounts with Apex. I'm doing the math. I was like, what would that payout be? He's like, it'd be about like $2.4 million. Just casually says that. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, okay, like, dude, we got to get you the payout. This is crazy. Yeah. And then he went through the whole thing where Apex ghosted him for a month and stuff. And so then I was like, all right, dude, I'm going to post this on Twitter, see what happens. Luckily, shout out all the people in the trading community. Everyone blew it up on Twitter, went viral overnight, got like, 1 million views basically. Sure enough, the next day, some dude from Apex reaches out to him, ends up getting his wire information, pays him. So I was like,
awesome. Yeah.
So that's like the last success story of coaching.
Yeah. And that went super viral. For anybody that was not paying attention to that on Twitter, I remember that one circulating big time over that week. It was earlier in July?
Yeah,
August
yeah,
this year?
Earlier this year, yeah.
Incredible story. Worth looking back up because watching the whole thing back was
pretty cool.
Pretty awesome. Well, good on you for obviously helping him into that path. So what's the next big goal? What's ahead for 2026?
Good question. I really want to keep expanding the coaching business. I want to get quite a few coaches under me. I think that's the goal because that's something that doesn't really exist out there. In the powerlifting scene, there's like some coaching like brands that have like multiple coaches under them.
Yeah.
And I noticed in the trading spot, like there's not that doesn't really exist. There's not like a coaching agency of like, you know, like I want it to be like strong trading coaching, and you go here and you get paired up with, you know, whatever type of coach you want, whatever coaches, like, you know, you kind of jive with, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then maybe some coaches specialize in different things. Maybe someone is really good specifically at trading gold, or is really good at trading oil, or good at trading, you know, the indices, or specifically NQ, or specifically YM, like whatever it is. Or maybe it's a certain trading style. You know, I have a coach that specializes in ICT or something like that, like whatever it is. I think that's the vision of where I want to go with the whole coaching thing in general. And then just keep sticking to like what we're doing is process. Because again, every trader that comes to us is different and unique. They all have their own individual trading styles. I just want to make sure they're doing the back end work, because like that's what's actually required to just build skill and get profitable and take payouts and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of the goal. I want to obviously see everyone keep taking payouts. You know, a lot of people are taking more and more payouts every single day. It's been awesome. They've been posting it in the win section on the Discord. Other than that, keep focusing obviously on my own trading. I always just want to get better. And I was just talking about this with Lawrence a couple of days ago, is, you know, because he's like, oh, 6 years, dude, congrats. That's awesome. You know, I just hit my 6-year mark. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, obviously, monetarily, things are following with it, which is super cool. Obviously, it feels good to make money. I was like, but I'm just so excited for year 10 because my skill level is going to be so advanced by then. And so it's like, I think that's the cool part. And like that's when it comes to like having a good mindset behind growth when it comes to trading.
Yeah.
Is if you can focus on like how much better at the skill am I going to be in X amount of time, the money's almost just a byproduct. And it's like, what are you doing to improve that skill, right? Are you doing review? You know, are you doing everything required to, you know, get better at it? So it's like, for me, obviously, I've always like known I would be successful, you know, and I'm not saying that in a cocky or arrogant way at all. I've just had like I've had crazy belief and faith in myself, because I was always just like, I'll fucking figure it out, dude. Like I will do anything I can to figure this out and make it work. I think that stems, you know, everything stems from childhood. It probably stems from just like, I didn't grow up with much money in my family. So I was always just like, I'm going to be self-made. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And so, I don't know, but so it's like, I know the money will come. I know I'll keep doing like better and better, but also just helping people too. Like my restaurant background and like being the background in the restaurant industry allowed me to like always think about people and like how to talk to people and interact with people. And like, I truly think that's kind of what put me on the map as like an influencer a little bit and like in the space. Have you ever heard of Traders for a Cause?
No, actually, I feel like I've heard somebody mention that before, but I didn't look into it.
It's an in-person event. It's held for charity. It's usually hosted every year. And I went to my first one almost 3 years ago now. And it was like a life-changing experience for me, like in the industry, to surround myself with people in person.
Yes.
And when I say people, actually, I should say traders in person. Because when you are around a bunch of traders, it's just a different thing, dude. Everyone understands this. Everyone understands what you're going through. Because everyone's at different parts of their journey, or they've all been through that shit. And so, you know, kind of my edge, I would say, in the space then was like, I was outgoing from the restaurant industry, and I was like, I can go talk to anyone. So I was like, first day there, I went up to Mike Belfiore, and I was like, hey, Mike. And just like right away, and I gave him like this card that I made and talked about my brand of strong trading. And Mike was like, oh, that's cool. You're like, so you're like a weightlifter that, you know, trades and stuff. He's like, you should do a video with Lance. That's what he said to me. And I was like, oh, okay. And then like eventually like that same day, you know, met Sanglucci, met Be The Story, met Lance, met a bunch of great traders. Ended up befriending Lance, you know, lifted with him, became homies with him. Lance is like one of my good friends now. I chat with him all the time. But like that was something, I guess, edge-wise, which like kind of really helped me, is just like being able to talk to people and get out there. So it's like I encourage everyone, like get out there and talk to people. Like trading is a very selfish endeavor. So it's like if you can find ways to at least like help others somehow, or like connect with others, chat with others, and like whatnot. So that's why like I'm so transparent about my journey on Instagram. Like I'm not active on Twitter. I hate Twitter, number one. I just don't like it. It's
fair.
Not my thing. People are too negative on there. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And so I'm really big on Instagram. Like I like Instagram. Like that's my favorite platform. And it's just a matter of like, if I can put out a video or something that helps people and also reminds them, like, dude, I went live with Top 1 Futures, got a live account. It's literally last month. This month has been a record month for me. Last month, I literally killed a $15,000 live account with top one futures, just day by day, dwindle. The market just wasn't aligning. We were all-time highs. We were kind of just grinding higher. It wasn't like the best for my system, my strategy. It was one of those probability-based losses that just lasted over months, basically.
I've been there.
And that sucked. And like that hurt. But it was like a really good experience to showcase. Like literally the day I lost my live account, I made a video and I sat here and I was just like, I don't want to make this right now, but I'm doing it because I feel like I kind of have to, just to showcase like I still fuck up. I'm 6 years into this journey. I still screw up. I still have times where like things just don't work. And like, it's okay. It's part of it. And then crazy, fast forward a month later, and like literally this month like has been insane. I've taken $25,000 in payouts, not to mention a $20,000 day trade yesterday on options. So it's like almost $50,000 in profits this month from trading itself, plus all my other business income and stuff. And it just goes to show the ebbs and flows in life and like trading. And so like I want to remind people of that too, because again, trading is such a hard endeavor. It is so difficult to do this. It gets a little bit easier with time, but it doesn't mean mentally it doesn't still fuck you up and like make you upset, or you know, people always think like you're going to get to this breakthrough moment where you're never going to make a mistake again. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. It doesn't exist like that. It's just a constant battle against yourself to self-regulate your emotions, like your actions. And like you kind of get a little bit better at that over time. But it's like the pain and like of losses and stuff, that never goes away. That never does. So yeah.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. We'll get the links for how people can follow you in the show notes here. I definitely am looking forward to seeing how your coaching business evolves. I like this idea of of it being like an agency and matching people to the best kind of coach for them. I think tailoring that makes a ton of sense, especially since everybody has, like you said, the same but different problems, slightly different needs, and you put the right coach with the right person, you're bound to end up with a better scenario. Maybe that's another thing you took from the gym environment. It feels like sometimes you need the right personal trainer for you in order to coach you through your hurdles. So fantastic, man. I'm looking forward to seeing how this evolves for you. Appreciate the time here today. You've definitely dropped some wisdom for me. I've taken a few things away from what you said, especially around soft rules and hard rules. I think I've got some ideas on how I can refine my own system for that. And I'm very much a markup type. I go back and review every single day, like methodically. You have to. There's no other way to improve until you figure out what's working and what's not. So cool. Thank you very much. I'm hoping we can do this again in the future and catch up in a few months from now or something like that.
For sure, bro. Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome.